some of the moths that we found last night in a survey we were doing in the woods behind us. Ran a few light traps and other survey methods and got a few species, not very large numbers, but it's early in the year and you don't expect large numbers. But I thought we'd have a look at the things we found, briefly talk about them, what was here. So with no further ado, we will turn around and start having a look at some insects. Let me just turn the camera around. There we go. So first of all in here, is it going to focus? Yes, this is a species called the pale brindled beauty, or Figalia pilosaria, if you prefer the scientific name. This is a relatively common species, flies quite early in the year, can get these right at the start of January, sometimes even back into December. And the caterpillars of this feed on quite a wide variety of broadleaf trees, so are well suited to the sort of woodland we've got here. And yeah, quite a few of these. So that's the first of the species we found, a pale brindled beauty. This is a male. You can see it's got feathery antennae. If I remember rightly, this species, the female, I don't know if it's got a flightless female or not actually. Many of the species at this time of year have females that can't fly. So that's the first species we're going to look at. A closely related species, you're seeing my list of things to say there, in here is a small brindled beauty, Apochemia hispidaria, the small brindled beauty. This is, of the few things I'm going to have a look at today that we've found, this is the least common of the things we've found, although it's still a fairly common species. Its official distribution status is listed as local, which tends to mean it's a bit scattered, but it does occur. And the caterpillars of this species tend to specialise on oaks, one particular broadleaf tree. Common tree in the reserve that we have here, of course. There's a lot of oaks in Perivale Wood, which is why we get this species fairly frequently. But although it's been recorded from other trees for the caterpillars, it doesn't occur from them as frequently. It's much more specialised on the oaks than on other trees. So unlike the pale brindled beauty that we were looking at earlier, this one is perhaps a little bit more restricted in distribution because it's associated with one specific plant rather than being able to feed on absolutely a wide variety of them. Sticking with moths that fly in winter, well, they're all moths that fly in winter that we're looking at here. Oops, that one has escaped. This is called a dotted border, and if the internet connection is broad enough here, you might be able to see along the outer side of the wing here a small series of dots. This wing's rather tatty, but you can see a few here. Dotted border, and that's where it gets its name from. Agriopis marginaria is the scientific name. Again, this is a common species, feeds on a wide variety of broadleaf trees, so again can occur in lots of places. And again, it's a species you can get really from January onwards. So let me put that there. Then we've got a couple of species in the Noctuidae. This is known as Hebrew character. Seems to be sitting still, so let's get it out so we can get a bit of a closer look. And the reason it's called Hebrew character is that the thinking is that this black mark on the outside looks like one of the letters in the Hebrew alphabet. Scientific name of this one is Orthosia gothica, and I guess the thinking was that it Looks like Gothic script was the scientific name. And again, this is a common species, feeds on a wide variety of broadleaf trees. Hence, it's fairly commonly distributed. And this species seems to be able to fly in pretty cold conditions. This is, if you trap on a particularly poor night looking for your moths, this can often be at this time of year the only species that you get. And then the final species we're going to have a look at is another noctuid moth, another of the moths in this family, and closely related to the one we just saw, also in the genus Orthosia. Doesn't want to focus on it today, does it? See if I can force it to focus by putting my finger next to it. Now I'll just do that. Okay, there we go. This is the common quaker, or Orthosia cerevisiae, C-E-R-A-S-I. Another common broadleaf tree feeder, and another very common species. Hello, Bonnie. So that was, that's what I was saying. That was common quaker, Orthosia cerevisiae, a common moth, and one we got a few of last night. So I put this one back in a pot just to keep it secure till it's time to let things go. So that was really all of the species that we caught last night. Very attractive species, of course. We'll end, I suspect, having a look back at the small brindled beauty, because that was the least common and is probably the most attractively marked. At this time of year, quite a few of the species are these sort of rather drab brown colours. Why am I doing this? So where we are now, so Bonnie has asked in the chat, why am I doing this? So where we are now, let me go and show you out the window where we are now, is Perryville Wood. This is a nature reserve that we run down here in northwest London. So you can just see into the wood there and you can see up the grassland. And as part of managing a nature reserve, one of the important things to do is to carry out scientific surveys to understand what's here, because you can't really do conservation practically if you don't know what's about. So one of the things I do is I survey for particularly Lepidoptera, moths and butterflies, other insects to the extent I can. And what I was doing is last night I was out in the woods here. I had a few survey devices, moth traps, basically bright lights on boxes. The moths are attracted to the light, they go in. I can then go through them in the morning and see what's there, identify what species are there. That just helps us understand what we've got in this reserve and think about what we might need to do, how the management's working, and what it's achieving. So I do this survey quite regularly through the year, and I do try to do some little things here on HAPS just to show people a little bit more of what we found, and to show people, everything we've looked at there is common. None of these are rare species, but the things that you don't see unless you go out and look for in these particular ways. So I like to show people the stuff that's around them and yet somehow unseen. So we'll go back, we'll have a quick finish off looking at at the small brindled beauty, because that's the pretty one. And I'll end the broadcast on that, which is quite an attractively marked species. Colours designed so when it's sitting on the bark of a tree, that's fairly camouflaged, but all rather an attractive species. So I'll hop off the broadcast there. Hope that was interesting, and I will no doubt see you on future broadcasts.